So today is part one of two, although they're a little independent. There are three skills labs that we will be doing today and tomorrow in these two sessions. We're going to start with one where we have some sample gift docs that you're going to pretend that you a little more than pretend, you'll actually do receive as a PDF. And we're going to set up an AI model to learn those and scan and extract data from it and then do something with it. So in the lab, for instance, I have it where you connect to Razor's Edge. You could do all sorts of other options. And there's also kind of at the end, there's kind of some challenge steps if you want to think about other ways of doing this or what else you might wish to do. So kind of letting folks come in as I talk here. So if you could download those gift doc samples. There's 5 that say gift doc 101, 102, 103, 104, 105. And then there's one called gift test doc. It's really the same type of thing. It's just one that we'll use 5 of them for training, and then one for using as a test. I'm not giving you death by PowerPoint here. We're basically just going to kind of jump in. What I'll do first is walk through this, walk through this exercise, and then I'll walk through the document, and then I'll walk through it, and you can kind of half follow me, half do it on your own, however you'd like. If there's time, we'll start on the second one, which is much shorter because there's that template. And the second one is we will look at some sample email texts that I have for you, and we will generate some sentiment. My example, it goes into Teams. Now, if you don't have Teams, there's lots of other ways that you can output that information. It's really pretty minimal amount of the information that it puts out. It just looks at some emails and gives you a sentiment of positive, negative, neutral, that sort of thing. Our example texts are actually kind of nice. So if you wanted to then try another one on your own and put in maybe some nasty stuff, I don't know how else to say that, put in some mean things, then perhaps you might get a negative sentiment out of that. Okay, so first I'm going to share my screen and bring up our document here. I'm not a super user in Zoom, so I'll make sure I do this right. I think I'll move that over, and then share. Okay, this should be obvious, right?
Sure. You got it?
My mouse was right on it, and I'm looking at all the other ones. Okay. Share screens. Okay, those are sharing options. Why? Oh, I see. Okay, got it. All right. Okay, there we go. Okay, so here we go. So here is one of those documents. So there was the AI model ones, and then there's the actual skills lab. I'll scroll up so you can see the kind of the table of contents here. So as I've been talking about the process pledge card, if we have time, we'll get into the process emailing, incoming email for sentiment. And then tomorrow, if you come back for that session, we're going to create a donor chat bot for event registration. And all of these they're not 100% complete solutions because there are a fair number of variables, but what it is it's kind of an end-to-end to show you the capability. And then in the real world, of course, you would have some other things to consider and add in. So the first thing I would do is go into my what's called the Maker portal. And if you were with me yesterday, we were building an app. If you have, according to the prereqs, if you have access to a Power Apps, then you would just use your regular login. If you needed to create a trial, then you would use an in private or incognito so that it's not confused with your regular login. And so we would go into there. So navigationally, let me just show you where I'm at with that. So I would go into, and I've already got this open. So go away. So I can't find that. Okay, there we go. So I would just go to make that powerapps.com. And make sure you spell that right. There's some misspelling that takes you to a less friendly site that somebody's picked up as their domain. So here I am in the Maker portal, and there's a number of objects along the side. In a perfect development world, you would create a solution and put your work in the solution. We're kind of taking a shortcut here, and we're going to go straight into AI models. So that's where we're at. And I notice I have my second screenshot has a slight wrongness to it. It says click on AI models or more to find it. And I've got the boxes around the wrong thing. I think what I did is maybe I cheated and used a screenshot that I made for the chatbot exercise. So AI models. So what I say, not what I show. So AI models, and then we're going to choose to create one. So I've already done this, but I'm gonna start it out just to kind of get started on the process for you. So have those files handy somewhere, and if you want to look at them, that's always a good practice. So like gift doc 101 will look like this, and this is totally made up information, and it's not necessarily complete. It's not necessarily exactly how you would do it. That's okay. It just gives you an idea of some of the things that you might be collecting, some of the information you might be collecting. Now, also, another element to this could be that you have on this form something like some sort of unique identifier for this person. So if it is a known person, that makes it easy to look them up in your donor database. Whereas otherwise you might have to do something like their email, cell phone to do a lookup. So when we get to the end of this exercise, it's a little bit of a hiccup there where there's probably a step where you're gonna have to look up this particular donor, or if they're a new one, then you could just create. So I'm not very adept at all on the Blackbaud database, so that's a consideration. So look at the form. Don't worry if it's not perfectly what you do. That's okay. And then so what we'll do is we're going to load those 5 documents. But what we need to have is a little bit of a data model for them first. So we're going to create the fields for those. So you might have one of those handy so that you could go through, have one of those open, one of those gift docs open so that you know which fields you need to create. In fact, I should reopen that. I'll have that. I'll just put that on another screen here. Here we go. Okay, so I'm gonna get started on this. If I can find my right spot. Here I am. Okay. So I already have this one completed, but I'm just gonna start so I can show you kind of the process. So I have this one, process pledge documents is what I called it, but I'll start a new one. So I'll say new AI model, excuse me. And there's lots here that this could be chosen, or lots of kind of pre-built ones or starter ones. So if I toggle back I hope I'm not jumping around too much. In fact, I think what I'll do is I'll just move the lab over. You have the lab handy, and then I'll just tell you where I'm at sometimes. And so you can see there's a lot of them here. So like, let's say you're working with a record that's similar to an order, an invoice, something like that, or a receipt. These can be great starter ones. They don't have to match perfectly. They could save you a lot of work if you have lots and lots of fields. Now, our example, it's got about 10 fields, so it's not terribly painful to create those 10 field items, but it is something to think about. So you might look at these and wonder, is there one that might work? And if you're thinking that, maybe go, okay, extract information from receipts. And there's some samples here that it looks at. You can see it's literally somebody's taking a picture. And then it's identifying logical fields. So like merchant name, address, blah, 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 transaction date, and so on. And so you might look at it and go, oh, okay, that's pretty good for maybe tracking expenses or something like that. Now, in our example, it's a little different from most of these. So we're going to choose extract custom information from documents. And so I'll go ahead. It gives you an example, but we're going to create custom model. Takes just a second. More than a second. Okay, we're getting there. Gives me a moment to take a drink. Okay. So there's options then: structured documents, unstructured documents, invoices. Basically, there's already one prepared for you. In this case, we looked at that document. They're pretty structured. So I'm going to choose that. And here's an example of what it's showing. Here's some examples of what a structured document looks like. If you selected unstructured, it gives you an idea of, well, this is a rental agreement. This is just a statement of work. So they're going to be different in different ways. So I'm going to go back, choose the structured documents, and it's a little bit of a wizard. So I'll click next, and then it's going to ask to start creating any fields that I might need. And so I'm gonna have my my document handy, and so I'll start creating those fields. So I've got first name, got last name. Most of these are text. I've got address, and yeah, in the real world, maybe you'd have address 2 and 3 or whatever, apartment number, whatever, suite. And then I've got city and state. I might say state or province. Zip postal. And zip would not be numeric. It would be a text field, because if you made it numeric and you put in zip code, a lot of you I think are from Boston. I'm pretty sure a lot of the zip codes out there start with 0. It would actually drop that 0, and it would do things like try to aggregate, and so we don't want any of that. And then home phone. And not all the documents have every field, but that's okay. We have cell phone, might call it mobile, and email. The next line is about the gift. In this case, it'd be a number. So I'm going to choose number field, and I'll say gift amount. And I can use dot as decimal separator, probably, rather than comma. Comma might be more of a European or other parts of the world thing. Gift matched by, I think all of my examples do not actually have any values there, but I left them in just because that may be the case. Sometimes you might have to deal with that situation. And so that's why I left it in, so we can kind of see how to handle that. Organization. And Logo, I don't know. I think I'm going to skip logo. That's also not on any of these documents. And then you can see there's one more. It's a checkbox, and it's I'll just say confidential. Okay, so I've created all of the fields, and I can continue. I'll say next. And then it's going to ask for a collection of documents. It would like to have 5. Said add at least 5, and that's why I gave you 5. So I'm going to say new selection, and then I'm just going to drag those 5 gift files onto here, and it's going to load those. Shouldn't take too long. It's essentially you're loading 5 files to the cloud. They're all pretty small. There we go. That was pretty quick. And I'll upload 5 documents. Well, it scanned. Now it's doing the upload. There we go. Done. So hopefully that goes pretty quick for you. All right. So it's got the 5 documents. Even gives me a little thumbnail of one. So that gives me the kind of the warm fuzzy that it's grabbing them and recognizing them. And so now what I do is I go through the 5 documents. Now, these steps you might feel are slightly tedious, but think about it. Prior to this capability, this situation, I mean, I've done projects for many, many years, and a lot of this scenario, we'd have to have a pro developer create something that extracts that data. It might be at least a couple of weeks of development, whereas we're doing this in 35, 40 minutes. And some of those other ones are much easier, like the invoices one or the receipts one, because the data model's actually already been built, and you're just confirming that I've found the right fields and maybe adding in 1 or 2 more. So now what I do is I tag these. And so I just drag my mouse over it, and it goes, okay, first thing. The fact that I typed them in order of the document makes it pretty easy, because then they're listed here. So I don't have to like scroll up and down the list. It's not doing the list in alpha order, because it's doing it the way that I created those fields, because it thinks that probably makes sense, and it does. So I'll say city. And if you missed any field, you just hit the back button, back a couple of times to that stage where you created the fields, and you just create the missing field, no problem. And then you just go forward. It'll have your documents still loaded, so you don't have to go through that process again. I'll say zip postal. Now this home number, on this example, there's no data there. So then over here on the right side where I see home phone number, I say not available in document. Now it could be, if I looked at all of my documents and I realized, oh, this is never going to be there, then I can say not available in collection. At this point, I haven't gone to the effort of looking at all 5 of those, so I won't worry about it. I'll just say not available in document. And then cell phone, I think all of these have cell phone, and so I'll choose that. We've got email. Now, I think if you were to look at all those documents, there is actually a little variance. Some of them have the $sign, some of them do not, but the model's smart enough to ignore that $sign. And here, I think I missed a field, frequency. So just as I was saying, in case you missed a field, I didn't do that on purpose, but this gives me a chance to show you what you do. So I'll hit back. It's saving my work, thankfully. I didn't think to save it. I go back. And now I can create that new field that I missed. Now it is a drop down, but we don't have that as a field type. So I'm just going to go with text field. So I'll say frequency. And I guess I could assume moving forward that if that field is blank, I could have that as a consideration, which means there's probably a one time. So I could have in my logic downstream from this, whatever I'm doing, that if frequency is null, call it one time. That makes sense. Okay, so where am I at? I just need to do the frequency. Whoops. I have a tendency to do that. It pops it up really handy right here, but sometimes I go over there. Now, I don't have any more data other than, I guess I could highlight the, please keep my GIF confidential, even though it's blank. That just means no, right? So I can select that. And then these other two, I'll say not available, not available. Okay, so now in the upper right here, I got a pretty checkbox that this one is complete. So I go on to the next one. And now I can do that same work on the other four, and you go, oh, Tad, this is so tedious. Yeah, I know a little bit, but remember the end game. You're saving a lot of work. This is low code development, and sometimes low code. This is our point and click of the low code, and so I don't know if I should just finish doing all of these in front of you or with you, or show you how I kind of finished it out after this. I could go to my completed one, gift mount and frequency. And then these are not available, not available, not available. It still hasn't given me the pretty checkbox because I haven't done this last one, which I'll do this one again, call it confidential. All right, this works pretty well. I'll just quick to run this out and then go back to the lab. So first name, last name. Maybe while I do this, I can multitask and look at the chat. Okay, did folks find the documents? So Brenda makes a comment about not ideal when you have thousands of editions. No, what we're doing here, or no, I'm clarifying. We're just doing, okay, let me answer that a little different way. So yeah, if you get 1,000 different ways of receiving the data, then probably what you would do is the unstructured, and you'd use 6 or 8 of them to train it. We're just doing this as the sample. I mean, we do these 5, and then we receive 1 million of them. That's okay, as long as they match this structure. If you receive them from 40 different ways, yeah, I completely understand what you're saying. So then then we would choose unstructured and pick a whole bunch of disparate ones. And in my experience, that has been very successful in identifying a variety. And maybe I should have done that for this example, giving you a bunch of different ones. I guess this scenario would be, whoops, I chose the wrong one. This scenario, remove tag. I worry that when I talk, when I multitask, I'm going to make mistakes. This scenario works great for, if they're using a form that you have. But yeah, for sure, if you have a variety of documents, that should also work. All right, gift them. Whoops, I think maybe everybody's getting bored of doing that. Hopefully everybody's doing this along with me. Thanks for resharing those, Kelly. This is frequency. Oops, there we go. Okay. Oops, what did I miss? Oh, I still have to do not available. If it's stuck at that unloading, I have had that once in a while. I would just like refresh the page and do it again, and I suspect it'll go through like mine did. Unless your internet's really bad for some reason, but if you're in this meeting, okay, the internet is probably fine. All right. 4/5 there, I guess close enough now. I might as well just finish the demoing of this. We still have some time. Postcode. Cell phone. Gift amount. Email. It's interesting that that one changed itself into emailable. Okay, got those. Not available, not available, not available. All right, one to go. All right, we got Owen Anderson from Denver. This is all made up data. Don't worry, I'm not using customer data. I'm not, it's complete. I've pulled these out of a hat, or just, no, I just made up stuff. And all the email addresses are like sample databases, and all the phone numbers have something like 555 in it, so they're all bad phone numbers. Almost done. I was doing this with a group not too long ago and had the phone number, and one guy asked about what about 8675309. I think half the people didn't know what he was talking about. You have to be a certain age, I think, to know that phone number. Okay, all right, so I've got all my 5 done. And I'll go ahead and hit next. And now it's giving me a little info, which I'm not surprised about. It's saying that there's 5 of them here. We didn't have any data, and that's okay. So because, maybe these 5 we didn't, but you might have outliers. A lot of people, I don't know, I bet a lot of people don't even have a phone number anymore, a home phone number. They just have their mobile or maybe a business or whatever. So I'm going to do train. Now this will take just a few minutes, and not too bad. Oh, okay, that was pretty quick. I'll go to model. And okay, it is still training. Oh, I forgot to name this one. That's okay. So that will sit there. While that's doing that, I'll go back to the lab document, the skills lab, and get us caught up to where we were. That one. Here we are. Oh, it's over here. All right, so I've done all the training. Okay, so it's going to go to models, and oh, here's where we can name it, since I forgot to do that. We can do it right here, and then it's going to give you just a summary of it, and then essentially what we'll do is we'll publish it, and then at that point we could use it in a Power Automate flow or in a Power App. So like one scenario might be you create a Power App, and you put an object on the Power App that is take a picture or scan, and then you could either find the file and drag it in, or you could take a picture of it, and it would identify that. Yeah, if you make a mistake tagging, I've done that, no worries. I think I can get in here. There's an option, remove tag, and I forget if it's over on, I think it's over on the left. The one you accidentally selected, there should be a little ellipsis, and choose remove tag. I can't get into this quite yet because let's see if I can look at my previous one. Oh, great. Thanks, Glen. He's jumped in. Oh, need to. I hope I now, oh, now it's trained. Okay, so now I can drill into it. Okay, there we go. So it considers this really good, which is partly because I gave you rather perfect documents. It's like in the real world, it could be maybe not as good. It could be that maybe they're handwritten. And so then, which it can handle, and it actually handles handwritten quite well. But it may not be, in some circumstances may not be perfect. And that's okay. Yes, it does, Glenn. If you do you really like cursive, Glenn? Yes, I have seen it with I have seen testing it with cursive, but yeah, obviously, if it's text there. And then there's also if you look back at the other models, crossed words. Oh, like if they've overlapped, is that what you mean? I don't know. We'd have to try that. As long as we're talking about it, there's some others here. So like, was going to show. Oh, there's like, it can detect language as well. So like if that can be, oh, strike through words, probably. So I haven't honestly tested that with strike through, but I suspect it probably does. Okay, so now my model is trained. So now I could use this. In fact, I'll rename this like a show in the lab. So settings, I'll just call it donor pledge demo. Sorry, you've done this. And then the last step in order to use it now will be to publish it. And then I'll go back to, I've got so many things open here. Go back to my document. There we go. Okay. So now I will publish it. So then, so now we're saying, okay, the next task here, we're going to create a gift in Razor's Edge NXT. And so now we'll go to flows and we're going to create a new automated cloud flow. And we can call it whatever. And then usually I skip this because it's hard to find what you're looking for on that little screenshot. And so then you can search for when a new email arrives. Now I use Outlook. If you have other mail clients, MAIL, that's fine. But the screenshots will look slightly different. There's a couple important options here. One is that we're going, okay, and another thing is there's a little bit of a variable here. We're going to do kind of a perfect example, and that is that the subject is new pledge. So if there's going to be some variation in that, there'll be some things to consider. So then it could be that you'll look at so you'll accept it, you'll look at the attachment and see if your model can read it. If not, then you'll assume that the attachment is something else. But in this case, this is a nice, easy way of looking through it and getting a good understanding of it. So our option here then is then we're gonna look for AI Builder and then select the of course you can use it for a group mailbox. I just did this because I'm in an environment where I'm the only person. So I just kept it simple to be myself. So you would trigger this on whatever mailbox you want to trigger this on, or whatever incoming to address. So maybe it's to, donor@myorg.org or whatever. And so, yeah, you could absolutely trigger it on any of those. In this case, I'm just triggering it on when I receive one. But yes, you would be monitoring whatever mailbox you need to monitor. Then we're going to select your AI model. And then there's an option here for form type of PDF document. There's others like image, and I'll show this in a moment. And then you're going to choose from this dynamic content. So let me pause there and walk through that a little bit. So good thing I have so many screens here today. Let's put that over there so I can see that too. All right, so I'm gonna go to flows. Got this one already created, but I'll just start a new one here. Excuse me. So we're doing a new automated flow, and automated means that it's being triggered by something happening, some trigger. Instant cloud flow would be that you initiated. So maybe you have a process that happens sometimes, but it requires a human to decide, or you literally add a button in an app. So maybe in the drop down in your application, you say run this flow or whatever, or run this process, and then schedule. So like it sounds, it would happen, once a day, once a week, every 4 hours, whatever you'd like there, and so on. This describe it to design it. This is a pretty new feature and it's pretty cool. And so this is where you could say, run an automated cloud flow when I receive an email with the subject of new pledge and has an attachment. Look at the attachment and find my AI builder model called whatever. And then it does actually a really pretty good job. And I guess I'm not quite brave enough to do that today, but I don't know, I probably could. That's okay, just for the sake of time. I'll just say pledge card demo. And I'm going to skip this and I'm going to look for when new email arrives. So then to answer a previous question, we would have a condition that would check to who is it to, rather than, if you don't, in this case, it's just going to be to me. But you might have a condition checking for, other mailboxes, that sort of thing. When email arrives, and you'll see there's a bunch here. And again, it really kind of depends on what mail client you're using. If I scroll down further, you'll see there's others. I'm going to choose this one when a new email arrives. And then here's the filter. So this is just my inbox, but you could filter on other inboxes. So like if you have shared ones, if you have, however, you'd be able to find them in the list. I just don't have any others, that's all. And then, or under the two, you could put that in, you could find a shared mailbox. If it's, CC, BC, so if it's from, you might have like domains, you could have a set of addresses, lots of options here. I'm going to change this to yes for attachments. And then again, just to keep it simple, I'm saying new pledge for subject. I might say contains pledge, or there's and doesn't, or I might say don't include those that, well, I don't know, forward and regarding and it's hard to say, but you can handle those scenarios. So now then the next step here is we want to get the AI builder model stuff work that we've done. So I'm going to click on AI builder and then extract document information from documents. You can see there's lots of stuff here. Detect language, extract information from business cards. This is where you might create a little scanner app of business cards and then just have it go directly into your database, into your leads or whatever. So I'll say extract information from documents, and then it's going to ask for a model. I've created this a couple times, so now I'm going to have two models here. This one should work. And here's PDF document, JPEG, PNG. Maybe you've got some other type of file. That would be custom value. So I will choose PDF. And then for the content, this form, when I click on that, we get something called dynamic content. Dynamic content meaning I'm not hard coding or making specific selections. I'm getting now from from what's going on within my flow. And in this case, attachments content, meaning what's in the attachment. And so now there's lots of things I could do in the lab exercise. I have you now add an action and search for Blackbaud. Now I could say something like send an email. Actually, let me do that quick first, just to show a simple example. You know, imagine you order something from Amazon. You want to get the warm fuzzy that they've received your order. So I could say, send an email. And I could say to would be dynamic content, and that would be the from. And then the subject, I could say pledge received from, and I could do something like first name value, space, last name value, and then I could say hello, and then the first name again. I don't know, I'm just kind of making this up as we go. Comma. So now we have a combination of static text and dynamic. I could say, thank you for your generous pledge of, and I find the gift amount, there it is. Now, what I might do is have a step in between there. You see it's text. So it's not going to format it necessarily exactly the way I like to have it formatted, with a pretty $sign and the number and whatever. So I might inject a step in between there where I format gift amount text into a way that I want it done, and I can do all that. And so then at this point I could be done, and I could send an email to this. What's my email address here? Okay, 1 second. I'm gonna send an email to this one. Sharing everything in my life right now. I'm trying to do this quick. And I'll say, sending it to this new pledge. Whatever, you could, the text in the body doesn't matter because we weren't looking at that at all. And I'll answer the off-topic question in 1 second. And they could send more than one, and we could process those just fine. So now, okay, so I have this done, and I could check to maybe make sure that I've actually received it here. So I'm going to open up the email of this my pretend person here that I'm working in. Could we use to create a CSV of gift data from scanned checks or import checks from gifts like we? Yes. Yep, absolutely. So here's my new pledge that's been received. I'm going to go back to my flow. And if I hit this little back arrow, I can see how it's doing. Here we go. I can see its history. Okay, it's running. And then I'll go back. Yeah, we've got time. Then I'll go back to the flow and show you some other options, such as the create a gift. Okay, running. This should go pretty quick here. I'll refresh. Okay. Usually I would expect this to be less than a minute. It's about 36 seconds so far. Okay, so maybe while that's continuing to run, let me just go back to the flow, and I should get an email back at my email address from whence I sent this. And that can show. Okay, let's edit this. There we go. Okay, so back here, so we've sent that email. Now, what happened, and I didn't really point this out when I first did this, is there's an apply to each. Now, if you're not a developer-ish person, what that means is it like loops through. So it says, oh, okay, well, what if they get more than one attachment? No problem. So it's going to do that to all the attachments and potentially create new records and everything. And so now another action is now, maybe I write this information to a CSV file. I write it in SharePoint, I write it in Excel, I send an email like I just did, or maybe I search for Blackbaud. And if you've been attending many of the sessions, there's lots here. It's maybe a better search I could do. Update a gift, create a gift. Okay, oh, I got the email. So let me just toggle back and show you the email. Okay. Okay, I did something wrong. See, I got 42 of these. I only said the one, I think. Okay, well, all right. So I missed something there in the processing. Didn't necessarily mean to have a problem to troubleshoot, but maybe let's take a look at this. Yeah, I'm still getting emails on this, so I did something wrong. Oh, Morgan's had that too. Okay. Huh. Well, okay, I don't necessarily want to sit and troubleshoot this in front of you, but apparently it's going through. Huh. All right, okay. I'll figure it out, and I'll if you're in any of my subsequent sessions, I'll let you know what I did wrong there, but that should have worked fine. All right, so then if I'd done this right, then the email would have come back. I would have received the email just like I said. So let me just we've got just a few minutes left. Yeah, my send me emails in a loop. I'm not sure what I did. It's probably obvious, and I'll think of it in 10 minutes or so. All right, so let's just edit this a little bit and show you some of the things that we can do. Yeah, I get them on my watch here as well. My watch is just buzzing. So as I was starting to show, isn't this fun that this is like, obviously this is not recorded. I'm not a recording. So this is not a polished recording. That's what I get for going off my script, which I never write a script, but there we go. Years ago, I was a high school teacher, and sometimes I would have this problem as well, where I'd go down a tangent. Oh, the kids love that. Okay, create a gift. It should be here somewhere. But there's also this thing you might have to do. You might have to do is say, okay, do I know this person? Are they already a constituent, already a donor? Maybe I need to create that record first, and then I can create this pledge record. And oh, okay, Glen's got it. Yeah, thank you, Glen. Yeah, I've clearly gone into the Glen land. This is less my forte. So okay, thanks, Glen. So you could use the send an HTTP request to use the gift v2. Okay. But there, my point is there's a variety of scenarios. It could be that, maybe you don't want the process to write directly into Razor's Edge. Maybe you want to go through an approval process. And that is a core component of Power Automate as well, is to manage that. And then an approver, variety of ways you could do it. They could receive an email that automatically has buttons that are approve or reject or whatever, or make comments. And then, or it could be that you put it into a middleware location, maybe SharePoint or CSV file or something that somebody else approves. And then the process continues and then finally does its creating the record. So it could also be that this is confirmation of a gift. So lots of different scenarios there. But I think that gives you an idea of kind of getting started on that. My primary point was to show the capturing of that data off the documents. And again, if you have a variety of, maybe somebody just handwrites there, or they type it up, or maybe that comes from a portal, or maybe it comes from a vendor, or maybe it comes just in the body of an email. That's where we would get into the unstructured, where we train it with enough and it will do well. But we also have the ability, of course, to capture any of those exceptions and then have them go to somebody who reviews it. So maybe 1 out of 50 fail to capture all that information, and instead you have a person manually look at it. But that's better than a person manually looking at 50 different records. And then other cases you might do is get constituent information that would be enough to identify who this person is. And so then you could add it to their records. But if they're not there, then create a new record. Again, of course, creating a new record might require an approval process, but those are all here. So like, for instance, there's there's a fairly, I don't know, specific functionality that's all around approvals. So if I just choose approval, there's like create approval, start and wait for an approval. And that might be things like, is it we're looking for approve reject, and maybe it's multiple people. And so then you have flavors of that where you might say everybody, so maybe it goes to 3 directors or something, and all 3 of them must approve, or maybe just the first person to look at it. And then some other scenarios where maybe it's a less structured format, and you wait for all responses, or you just wait for 1 response. And then again, any of those you can also do custom. That's a really common scenario for approval. And in fact, if you follow, we have Glen and Ashley and I are doing 2 more sessions around creating a donor card with a little Power App and Power Automate Flow. Part of that is an approval process as well. All right, we're in our last few minutes here. I'll troubleshoot my problem, what I did there. But if any of you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to any of us, Heather, Glen, and we'll get you more information. My name is Tad. If you, I'll put my email address in here. And I'm here all week. So again, thank you. All right, so I think there's a 15-minute break, and then the next sessions are at 1/4 or if you're in India, 1/4 I think Newfoundland's that way too. All right, thank you, Kelly, for supporting us.
Thank you. And we'll wait to kind of close out. So if anyone's downloading those final documents, we won't close out yet. And then we'll head over to our next round of sessions. Okay.
All right. Thanks for joining. Thank you, Glen, for answering some questions there. And hopefully we'll see you all again in a future session.